Well, thanks again for joining me, all my YouTube subscribers and occasional browsers, and thanks for returning to my Classic Dirt Bike TV channel as we endeavour to show you more of those long-lost motocross classics from back in the day. Now, this bike has already been featured on my videos from the recent Telford Classic Dirt Bike show, although I was asked by one of my subscribers if I could repost the separate version in order you Maico fans could all check it out. So let's have a look at this 1977 Maico Works 250 motocrosser. Now, this particular machine was a bike I captured at the recent Telford Classic Dirt Bike show. Now, at the time I saw this bike, I just walked right past it thinking it was just another old 250 Maico. That was, of course, until I was informed of what the bike actually was, and I was very intrigued about its history. Now, the bike is an authentic 1977 Maico Works machine, and the bike belongs to this young man here. This is Dutchman Norbert Van Dun, who has many of these classic Maicos in his motorcycle collection. Now, you may remember Norbert Van Dun's lovely little Maico twin that I featured on my Classic Dirt Bike TV channel some time back. Now, Norbert built this lovely twin cylinder Maico, and it's one of the bikes that people always ask Norbert about when they come across this nice machine. But this 250 1977 bike is extremely rare, and this bike was ridden by many of the top Maico factory riders in that particular year. And as you would expect, this bike has a few subtle differences between your standard 1977 250. Now, the frame is a Maico 125 frame, which as you can see here is a lot smaller in diameter than the standard 250. Now, the internal thickness of this frame is also smaller in diameter to the standard 250 Maico frame. Now, also on this machine, the headstock has been strengthened to obviously make it stronger to cope with those very bumpy European tracks that this bike would be racing on. Now, although the improvements to the headstock are not too well seen behind this alloy fuel tank, there is certainly some substantial metalwork hidden behind this alloy fuel tank, but this was done just to give this area of the frame more strength. Now, one of the other very unusual features about this machine is that on this left hand side of the bike, the footrest is bolted to the frame, while on the other right hand side the footrest is actually welded to the frame. Now, I don't know exactly why that would be the case, other than maybe it was to allow the riders to move that left hand side footrest position, or possibly it could have just been to facilitate the removal of that clutch cover. Now, I have it on good authority that this engine is a pre-production prototype of the flat engine that was produced in 1978. Now, only 12 of these engines were ever cast by Maico, and only 8 of them were ever used. Now, the word is that no one really knows why this particular motor was used in 1977, because the famous Adolf Wheel had already ridden a flat block engine in May of 1977. Now, one of the other intriguing things about this motor is that if you look at this primary drive sprocket, you will see that it's been moved back by about 100mm from the normal standard 250 Maico motor. Now, I know your next question is going to be why. Well, unfortunately that is a question I don't have the answer for, but I dare say that Maico in their wisdom would have had some reason for moving that primary drive sprocket from this original position behind the casing to this rearward configuration. What advantages that would have to the bike's performance, I'm not entirely sure. Now you may think that this cheap and very nasty looking brake pedal was just another part that's been cobbled together and thrown onto the bike, but this is most definitely a genuine Maico factory fitted part, although it does look very cheap and nasty, but this is definitely a part that Maico fitted to this particular Works machine. Now the fuel tank is basically your alloy coffin shaped tank that was common on these bikes from 1977, and as far as I know these were never made any bigger to increase the fuel capacity, although the tank did have a sticker saying made in West Germany. Now, as far as I'm aware, this is the standard Maico front suspension on this 1977 Works machine, although there may be some improvements to the internals of the forks, although Norbert Van Dun, the bike's owner, never informed me of any improvements, but with this being a Works machine, I can only think that this would be slightly different inside from your average 1977 machine. Now there's been a lot of discussion regarding this alloy swing arm, which was extremely rare on a factory Maico, especially for 1977, although the word is that it was still used occasionally by the Works riders, who would often be known to switch between this alloy swing arm and of course the standard steel one from 1977. Now I was never given any information regarding this Maico 250 exhaust system, although this does look like it is slightly different from your average 1977 250 pipe. It certainly does look like it has been manufactured in the Maico factory, although of course I can't confirm that particular statement, but certainly looks like a Works part from that particular year. Although, as I mentioned, this is one of the parts that were never really discussed on the day when Norbert was telling me about the machine. Now all the bike's controls and handlebars and what looks like a set of Magura levers are all period correct from that year, and certainly look like they are the right parts for this Works machine. Now it's been well documented that there were a few of the Maico Works riders of the time who did have their turn at riding this particular bike, and in fact it is said that the legendary Graham Noyce rode this bike during the 1977 Belgian Grand Prix. Now I'm not entirely sure as to what kind of suspension units this bike was fitted with in 1977, but they do look period correct. But Norbert did tell me that this machine is a very rare bike indeed, and he told me that there are very few people in the motocross world, and even in Germany, that even know that this particular engine even existed. And as I mentioned previously, there were only 12 of these engines ever cast by Maico, and with only 8 of them ever being used, it's quite surprising really that we have still managed to secure this particular example. Now, apart from Graham Noyce, there were other Maico riders who managed to throw their legs over this lovely bike. Ivan van der Broek was one of them. Sylvain Goberts was another one. And these are just a few of the names that managed to take this bike onto the racetrack. But this is a very rare and very interesting machine, and if this bike hadn't been pointed out to me on the day I took these video clips at the Telford Classic Dirt Bike Show, I would almost certainly have just passed this machine by as just another old classic Maico from 1977. But that's the good thing about the Telford show. Each and every year there is always something brand new to intrigue you and catch your interest. So there you have it, a very nice and extremely rare piece of Maico motocross history. That's Norbert Van Dun's 1977 250 Works Maico. Now, I hope you will continue to view more of these old classic dirt bikes here on my channel, and the best way to see these machines is just to subscribe to my channel. That way you won't miss a single machine. This video was brought to you in association with WorldSport, the world's #1 supplier for all your off-road and leisure sportswear. Just visit their online website for more information.